Welcome back to Trailcraft. I'm Wyatt. Today what we're going to be looking at is how to spool a winch cable onto a winch. Whether it's a brand new winch or an older winch that you've been using for a while and you just haven't seen that drum in a while, it might be time to spool it all off and reset it all on there real nice. So let's just knock that out real quick and see what that process looks like. So what we've got here is an obviously older, this is a Super Winch Husky 10, famously of use in the Camel Trophy and some other places. Kind of the great reputation on these winches for longevity, which as you can tell by the condition of this one, we've proven to be true. If you've got a new winch, follow these directions sort of, but always refer to your owner's manual. Hopefully you've got your owner's manual, throw it in the glove box, throw it somewhere you're not going to lose it. We don't need it, but nice to have, and you'll see why in a few minutes when we get all of this cable off. So if you've got a new winch, bear with us for a minute. If you're doing what I'm doing and just re-spooling, what you need to do is just throw the clutch like you normally would to pull this cable out. Two things: synthetic winch cable. If you're part of an off-road club somewhere in the world, then you want to use gloves with a synthetic cable, please feel free to. That's your prerogative. For an actual practical situation, you really don't need gloves, but it's entirely up to you. Wear them if you want to, it's only safer. Other than that, you can probably see before you've probably started typing your comments already, synthetic cable with a roller fair lead, no big deal. Yes, you could put a Haas fair lead on that. Does a roller fair lead tear up a synthetic line? Not if it's a good one. Even at very high angles, the roller fair lead on that doesn't hurt the cable. It rolls right in there. It's nice and smooth. There's no problem at all. And yeah, so feel free to comment that if you want to, but we probably won't reply. So all I've done here is just park the Jeep. It's in neutral. It's running the parking brakes on, and I'm paying all this cable out. Here in New England, we got trees everywhere. So, get yourself around, close to a hard object. You could do this with a building, a dumpster, whatever you want, as long as it's an immovable object. You can see as I'm stripping cable off the winch, I can already see the orange on the drum. That means I'm getting down to that first wrap. Not always the case, but that is how we've got this one set up. So I'm gonna keep paying essentially as much of this off as I possibly can. And I'm gonna pull it right back, and you can see I've got some of the orange, about 8 feet of the orange coming out of the fair lead there, and that's about fine. All right, tree strap and a rated shackle. Probably already know the deal with this, just nice and as low as possible on this tree. Looking at about where my Jeep is there. Doubling these guys up. Don't need the shackle, I'm just gonna run it into that. What we're going to be doing is pulling the Jeep against basically the parking brake to give us some resistance. So there's no problem if you do want to go ahead and do this with these hooks. Typically hook them up so that the opening is at the top. Not that you're going to have a failure, but if you do, it'll go down. That's the idea with that. If you wanted to, you certainly could use a shackle here. No problem with that. We can rig that as well. Totally kind of your prerogative what you want to do in this instance. But again, it's such a light pull, there's only going to be a few hundred pounds of force on this essentially. We're not that worried about it. Back to the Jeep. All right, so this is one of the nice things about occasionally pulling all this cable off. It's been a while since we've done this with this winch, and we've been using it pretty heavily. And I just found here that it's in fact very damaged. The only thing, I'll just pull it off and show you just so you can see. If you're ever in here with your hands and you're nervous about anything, go ahead and just unplug the controller. Controller's right here. I'm not going to bump the switch, but for whatever reason, anytime you've got your hands in the drum, it's just peace of mind if you like it to just unplug that and not worry about it. But what you can see here is this has come completely undone. The only thing that actually holds this cable is a tiny little screw that's usually right there. And in our case, this screw has broken. Really good that we've pulled this off today. I'm gonna find a replacement screw and see what I can do about getting this fixed. All right, so now that this is fixed, satisfactorily. I found a grade 10 point something bolt. It's back in. We're going to spool this back on against the resistance of the parking brake. Parking brake's not all the way on. It's just on, you know, a couple clicks, so that as we winch in, it's going to drag the Jeep against the resistance of those brakes. The brakes aren't going to get hot. It's not going to wear anything out. It's just going to give us that little bit of resistance we're looking for. Know that in two-wheel drive, your parking brake only works on the rear wheels. In four-wheel drive, because the four wheels are linked through that transfer case, this is in four-wheel drive. Essentially, we have a four-wheel drive parking brake. So you would do most of your winching in four-wheel drive. That's a good thing. For this, maybe put it in four-wheel drive, but it doesn't really matter as long as you've got some resistance to spool this on nice and tightly. Winch controller's plugged back in. Re-engage the clutch. I've got the controller. Just like always when winching in, I've got this controller looped under the windshield wiper. You can use the mirror, you can use whatever you want, but essentially you can see that as I tug on this, if anything stupid happens for whatever reason, it's not gonna come disconnected. So just cheap insurance that that plug is gonna stay connected. It's out of the way. We're happy with that. Maintaining safe distance from the winch. As most people know, you do not wanna be winching in this area. You wanna be winching, you know, a leg's distance apart. You could be out here. It doesn't really matter. The danger zone is kind of within arm's reach of this roller fair lead or a Haas fair lead or whatever you've got. That's the no-go zone. So you ever see somebody, you know, messing around in here, get them out of there. You unplug the winch, do something. And as you're winching in, keep a good safe distance. There's no reason to be closer than this. Winching in. And all you're looking for on this first wrap is just to get them nice and tight without any overlap. I can put this right down when I go hands in. If you go hands in, you can also detach it, but since it's not somebody else running the controller, I don't really care. I'm just gonna snug these wraps up nice and tight. There we go, and I've got this orange protective sheath, kind of get that back where it should be a little bit, and I'm gonna winch in again. And I'm kind of bumping it. I'm not just holding it down, I'm just bumping the winch in, and already I'm just gonna snug this back up again. You can see these little gaps here. These are what cause you problems. So the more you can snug this up, get rid of those gaps, the better off you're gonna be. It's important to remember, a 10,000 pound winch is only 10,000 pounds on that first wrap on the drum. As you build up layers on here, you have faster but less powerful winching. So 10,000 pound winch, once you're on your second wrap, is only an 8,000 pound winch. Your third wrap's a 7,000 pound winch. You know, the more layers you've got on here, essentially the faster but weaker the winch will work, just like a mountain bike or anything else. So I'm bumping this in, just keeping it nice until now I've got tension against that tree strap, right? So now what I can do is move back, and I'm just thinking about where the steering wheel is so that as I winch in, it's gonna start moving fast from now on, and I just wanna load it against whichever side you're trying to keep this wrap nice and tight. So in this case, I'm gonna close the door and open the window just to make life a little easier. I'm gonna go ahead and turn slightly to the right because I want these wraps to stack up nice and tight, and it's kind of got a slight angle. That's about where I want to be. If you had somebody in the driver's seat that you could yell at, hey, turn right a little, turn left a little, that's great. I don't, that's fine. I'm going to turn left a little just so I don't start running over those underlying wraps. And all I'm doing is just managing the angle that that's going on the drum. And feel free, this isn't moving. So if you need to lean on this a little bit, you can go ahead and do that because it's not a double line pull. This isn't going anywhere. So as I winch in, I can lean, as you can see here. If I lean on this cable and winch in at the same time, it's perfectly safe. And that's gonna kind of manage where that's going. You can use your hand if you want. And we're just looking for those nice, smooth wraps going onto the drum there. I'm going to turn back a little bit. And you just want to manage your steering so that it feeds that on in a nice smooth way. But again, don't be afraid to tug on it a little. Now we're past that initial orange wrapped part, which is good. Now you can see that first layer is essentially complete. We're going to let it build up a second layer right against that side of that drum. And then just start feeding it back on. And honestly, I'm fine with that. I'm going to let it ride. And just keep managing. Keep it nice and tight. And it's really these first 2 wraps that matter. Because if you're doing any kind of a heavy pull, you're going to pull the first 2 or 3 wraps anyway. You know, as you've got, it's a little messy looking, but as long as the underlying, you know, the first 2 or 3 wraps here are really tight, that's what you want. So that as you do a hard pull, it doesn't saw through the layers. You can see now I'm pushing too hard on it, so I'm just going to manage that steering wheel again. Just to develop too much of an angle, and I was trying to fight it with my leg more than I should have to. And keeping your body, you know, you should be 4, 5, 6 feet away is fine. You can see everything that's going on. Now you can see my steering's caught in and I'm loading it nicely. I'm gonna actually straighten the wheel out. In a pretty happy place. And you see, we're not dragging the Jeep, like the parking brake's not fully engaged. It could be if you want to. If you want them on real tight, you can go ahead and do that and just drag your vehicle. Doesn't bother me. Now come in and get tight on this and take a quick look. Because now that it's fed back to this right side of the drum, you can see where this, we had to fix this bolt. And honestly, what probably happened here with this bolt is as someone was spooling it on, you don't probably want to run that over. So I'm going to keep it to the side of that and start spooling back the other way. Just gonna tap it, or what we call bump the winch like this, just to be really precise about where this next layer goes on. And winch in. Even with a synthetic rope, you always want to try and kind of hold it if you can. You don't want to let it always slide through your hands. Definitely not with a metal rope. Synthetic rope, you can do it, but there could be, you know, thorns or something in there. You don't want to risk cutting your hand, especially if you're not wearing a glove. Got a little sloppy, I'm gonna bump it out. Controller down and just, that is what it is, I'm fine. Again, the first 2 layers are really the most critical. At some point here, probably after this 3rd layer, we're kind of just getting the cable on there so that it's stored, you know? We're never really gonna be winching with the top couple layers, unless it's an extremely light pull. As it's getting close to that left side, we're just watching what it does. Gonna let it double over on itself. Filled right in nice. And again, you can bump it to move slow if you want. Getting a little close. That's what you gotta be careful of. As you start micro-analyzing what's going on here, you'll see yourself getting closer and closer and closer, and that's when your hand gets sucked in. I'm gonna manage my steering a little. We're gonna turn left a little to side load it better. Just a little bit. Oh no, my owner's manual. Straighten up. So a few things are happening. You can hear probably the winch working harder, and you can also see the vehicle moving faster now that we've got more layers on here. We're basically in a higher gear. Didn't even hear the winch really before, now it's quite loud. And the truck's moving a lot faster than it was. As you start to get anywhere near kind of the end of the line here, that's another thing you can do. Some people will mark that first 10 feet of their rope orange as well. You know, there's different ways of doing that, but just so that it's an alarm. But if you're somewhat conscious of what you're doing, you'll know, hey, we're getting pretty close to the tree. Just kind of keep an eye on that. We're going to be in the grass here a little bit. I'm going to side load it again just slightly. Gotta load this again. And honestly, we're at the point now, this last 10 feet of cable, we'll do it under load a little further, but honestly, you can relax it and just set this on by hand, because again, anytime you use the winch, you're gonna pull more than that back off. It's a little bit different with a steel cable. A steel cable, if you relax tension on this right now, like even just that much, that's gonna bird's nest. And what we mean by bird's nest is all that steel cable is under tension. You got it on there really nice. If you relax tension, it's all gonna fray and you're gonna have to start over. So that's one of the many benefits of synthetic cable, is it's not gonna do that. But just for the sake of doing it, which way was I turning? Yeah, this is the problem with not having somebody in the vehicle is the tires are going to respond to the terrain and you'll get some accidental turning. Honestly, that's fine. Parking brake's on. So we've got this really dressed pretty nicely, especially with a steel cable. You want to be pretty careful at this point to relax tension, but be holding this winch cable. Right, so that cable hasn't frayed or opened up or done anything because I'm holding tension against it. And you can relax a little bit if you need to here. Keep tension on it. Again, this is redundant with a synthetic cable, but if you have a steel cable, you're gonna need to do this to keep tension on this as you disconnect. Now that you've done that, keep tension on it as you move back up to the winch. Again, overkill with the synthetic rope, but just for you, you know, the metal rope folks out there, walk yourself back out. Always hand over hand like that, not sliding it through your hands, especially with metal rope. And then now we're gonna winch back in this last 10 feet, just under the load of me leaning against it. And really, this doesn't have to be the prettiest, but you might as well make it look halfway nice. Hand over hand over hand. When you get to the hook, if you are part of an off-road organization or club and you use the nylon dangly thing, use the nylon dangly thing, that's fine. If you don't have a nylon holder here or something like that, really all you're looking to do is sort of cup it with your hand, not through the loop in any way. But again, it's pretty redundant as far as safety. Just kind of hold it like that and you'll be fine. Winch in. As you get close, again, bumping the winch. And we're done. I like to kind of lock that hook in if you can, but theoretically it could move pretty easily anyway. For all intents and purposes, this winch is now stowed well enough to be used again. Anytime you're gonna do a tough pull, you're definitely pulling this third of a layer off and probably pulling most of that next layer off, again, just because of that reduction in pulling power. It's even in the manual right here, it's pretty clear. We have exact numbers, but again, it's gonna depend on the diameter of your wire rope. So this first layer, it's 10,000 pounds. Second layer, you know, 8.2. Third layer, 6.9. Essentially, you've got a 10,000 pound winch on the first drum and then 8,000, 7,000, 6,000, 5,000. So each layer you build up on this, you lose 1,000 pounds of pulling force. If you were really doing this, you know, properly and had a lot more time in your hands and cared more than we do, you would not have gotten this rope with a little bit of mud in it. That just happens and we've accepted that and that's part of life. But just like a climbing rope, getting any sand or mud in this synthetic line is gonna start to wear the fibers away from the inside. You know, a synthetic rope, in the sand and mud and stuff gets in there and it's gnarly and that's gonna wear it out. This rope's very much at the end of its usable life. We're gonna replace it again soon. We're kind of just almost torture testing it at this point just to see how soon it's gonna fail. A synthetic rope like this, you would wanna keep it out of the elements if you possibly could, keeping it covered and out of the UV light. And certainly when this is all wet and it freezes and gets snowed on and ice and stuff, you often might go to pull this out and this is just one frozen block. And you know, there are ways of thawing it. We can talk about that another time if you're interested, but it's something you don't see as much with steel cable, or better in, you know, Arctic conditions or really in the winter. A steel cable has some advantages there. Or with this, you'd want to get this dried out, cleaned up a little and dried out and covered would be optimal. So that's basically all we got for you. Hopefully, if you need to spool on a winch line, now you can do it kind of really easily, you see, even on your own. If you've got a couple people, it makes it certainly quicker. You know, have somebody running the steering wheel inside or holding a little bit of foot brake or whatever you want. But if you are solo, you can do it. You know, here we did it in a video in, you know, something like 10 minutes, hopefully. You could do it much quicker yourself. Once you've done it a few times and you're not trying to talk to a camera, it kind of flies by. So there's no excuse for having a super messy winch, and good luck out there. If you've got any questions on this or anything else kind of off-road related, go ahead and add it in the comment section. We'll get to those just as quick as we can. If you're interested in doing some off-road driving, learning how to use winches and setting up a lot of different winch rigging scenarios, check out trailcraft.teamoneil.com. We hold courses all year up here at our campus in New England, and we do travel for courses near you, potentially for a group or something like that. If you're into these kinds of videos, you know, give us some ideas for some future ones. We're happy to cover some different topics. Subscribe to the channel, hit that little icon bell so you're notified when new videos come out. Until then, have fun, be safe, and we'll catch you next time.